Hi there, I'm Kyle Kittleson with MedCircle. If this is your first time on our YouTube channel, typically it's not just me on camera. Most of our videos are in-depth interviews with psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health experts, and people with lived experience. If you want an in-depth education on mental health, this is the right channel. This may not be the right video, but this is the right channel. Go ahead and browse some of our channels here on MedCircle. I am confident you'll find at least one that resonates with you, and maybe you'll find a few that even help change your life. Like I said, my name's Kyle. I host here at MedCircle. And 2 weeks ago, I did a video on the three types of Bridget. There you go. The three types or three ways that I manage my depression outside of therapy and medication. That video had a strong reaction. So this week, I decided to share three things that I do to help ease my anxiety, manage and combat my anxiety that aren't the typical things that you hear when you look up ways to manage your anxiety. I'm not going to tell you to get sleep, watch caffeine, go to therapy, make sure you exercise and eat, right, have a support system, breathing exercises. We all know these things. They all are fabulous, and I probably do all of them at some point throughout the month. But here are three things that you may not have thought of, two of which I've learned from MedCircle doctors, and one of which I use for myself just over time. I've felt that it works. I'm not saying this is going to work for you. I hope it does, but this does work for me, and maybe it will inspire some thoughts on what can work for you. So let's go into the first tip. This is what I learned from clinical psychologist, one of our popular doctors here at MedCircle, Dr. Ramani. And it is incorporating, let me finish this before you click away. It is incorporating mindfulness moments throughout the day, independent of your anxiety level and during a co-occurring activity. So let me explain. I for as long as I remember, I've been depressed, but only in the last year have I felt anxious. And I bet that's due to COVID and the changes in our world and our life. And now I live and work at home, and it's probably not that great for my mental health, but it's what we have to do right now. And I was talking to Dr. Ramani about this, and she said, every time you wash your hands throughout the day, and especially during COVID, everyone's hand washing went up. Take that 20 to 30 seconds of hand washing to be completely mindful. And what mindful means, at least to me, is being 100% as much as possible in that moment. So typically, when you're not mindful and you go to wash your hands, you're like, I got to wash my hands. And you're not thinking about washing your hands. You're thinking about what I have to do after this, or what the next thing is on my to-do list, or what you're thinking about the future, your life, whatever. You're not thinking about washing your hands. Well, if you change that to this 20 to 30 second practice of going up to the sink and turning on the faucet and feeling the temperature of the water and putting the soap in your hands and smelling the scent of the soap and then moving, like really washing your hands and feeling the muscles in your hands. And if you feel your mind start to go, oh my gosh, I need to hurry up because I have to be at that meet, just recenter and go, no, I'm just washing my hands right now. And you can really get in tune with all of your senses, from sight, smell. I don't need to list the senses. You guys get that. Dr. Ramani told me to do this, and I kind of had an internal eye roll. I was like, whatever. I'll wash my hands and be mindful. I don't think it's going to help my anxiety at all. And it had very profound effects, so much so that it's something that I still do today. And this was more than a year ago. She recommended this activity. And the key is to do it independent if you're having anxious thoughts or not. So on days where you have anxiety, you might think, oh man, I'm feeling really anxious. I wonder why this is. I'm going to have a moment of mindfulness to try to get myself centered and back to one, so to speak. But on the days you're not having anxiety, you might not think of that. You're like, oh gosh, I'm just washing my hands. Things are going good. Every day do that. And what happens is when you are consistent on the anxious days, the not so anxious days, etc., your body starts to, at least mine did, starts to go, oh yeah, Kyle, you're doing that thing where you get mindful and you get centered with yourself. We can snap into that place, and you start to be able to get to calm quicker. Now, it doesn't have to be hand washing. I think it can be something that you do every day. If it's brushing your teeth, fine. Just really brush your teeth. No music. Really focus on all of those senses. Maybe when you drive to work, maybe you don't have to do it there and back, but on one of those drives, no radio, no phone calls, no thinking about the meeting that you have, no thinking about the errands, no thinking about that stupid thing your partner just said to you that really bothers you. What an idiot. Don't think about any of that. Just think about your hands on the steering wheel and all of the sounds from the honking and the tires and maybe music from another car, the feeling of your seat in your back, all of those things. Be 100% in that moment. And you can do it for as long as you want or as little as you want. My recommendation is just to do it as consistently as possible. So even if it is just when you brush your teeth in the morning, but you do it 5 out of 7 days a week, I imagine that you will feel a larger sense of calm throughout your day. And when you do get anxious, you'll be able to get to that calm faster. Now, I say this with a caveat that I don't necessarily think anxiety is bad. Generalized anxiety disorder certainly has symptoms that cause people distress, but anxiety typically tells us that there's something we need to get done. I was a little anxious this morning because I had a meeting that I forgot about on Friday and we rescheduled it to this morning. So I was like, I got to make sure I'm at this meeting Monday morning because I bailed on it on Friday. I felt so bad. So I had a little anxiety around that this morning, but to me, I consider that the quote good anxiety. So I don't want to stigmatize all anxiety here. I just want to give some tools. So that's the first one, the hand washing, the mindfulness moments consistently throughout the day. Let's move into the second one. This one I learned from triple board certified clinical and forensic neuropsychologist, Dr. Judy Ho. Dr. Judy explained this concept to me from acceptance and commitment therapy. And if you are an avid watcher of MedCircle, you've probably heard me mention this before. But acceptance and commitment therapy is an offshoot, for lack of a better term, from cognitive behavioral therapy. And it incorporates a lot of these mindfulness ideas that I just spoke about and some Eastern philosophy, along with the traditional thoughts and theories behind CBT. And one of these thoughts, with ACT is that you are not your thoughts. And this has been really profound for me as well. When we have a thought, I'll speak for me. When I have a thought, my default reaction is to believe that thought to be true. For example, I'll go back to my example on Friday. I had a meeting at 4:30. I just didn't show up, y'all. No excuse. I thought my day was over. I was like, whatever. It was on my calendar. Just didn't look at my calendar. Didn't show up for the meeting. The gentleman I had the meeting with calls me at 4:45. Hey, are we meeting? I apologize profusely. He goes, no big deal. We'll meet on Monday. I had the initial thought, God, this guy must be pissed. This guy must be angry with me. And I have no idea if he was or wasn't. And he might be, but I don't know. I don't know that. That's just the thought I'm having. And so when I have that thought, of course, my anxiety goes up because I don't want people to be angry with me. I don't like that feeling. But when I reconstruct the thought from this guy's angry with me to I am having the thought that this guy is angry with me, it creates that little bit of space between me and the thought my brain is having. I am having the thought that this guy is angry with me. He may or may not be. Who knows? We have no way of knowing. Well, I guess we could go ask him. But even then, he might say, oh, no, it's cool. And he still might be angry. We've all done that. I'm having the thought that. Now, so think about how many times you can use this. Oh my gosh, I just showed up to the office and Rebecca looked at me sideways. She must be angry. She must not like me. Maybe. I'm having the thought that Rebecca doesn't like me. I'm having the thought to that. We did a fabulous live class on acceptance and commitment therapy where Dr. Judy really walked us through all of the layers of this process, and it continues on after that. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm not qualified to go into all the specifics there, but we'll link below to some of those ACT series. The I'm not having a thought, just start using it. Just start right there. And if you start to feel a little comfort, a little peace, perhaps a little insight into yourself, then I strongly encourage you to check out some of our classes or series on acceptance and commitment therapy. ACT, to me, is, I mean, all therapy to some degree is for everybody, I think. There are therapies that are very specific that might not be for everybody. But ACT has such big, nice umbrella, helpful strategies and theories that I think no matter why you watch mental health educational content, it helps you. Whether you're a professional, a patient, a supporter, or anywhere in between, this mindset that ACT uncovers for you is really impactful. Check it out using the links below this video. Now I'm going to go into this third thing that helps me. This is not backed by science. I've never had a doctor tell me this works. And in fact, maybe this isn't a great strategy or a great tool, but it is something that I have found myself doing, and I'm going to share it. When I have, I typically get anxiety around situational events. I hosted this, or I co-hosted this event a few weeks ago, and I screwed up it was a minor screw up, but I still screwed up. And the amount of anxiety I had after that was way too much for what had happened. I mean, you would have thought the embarrassment I felt and how much I was beating myself up, you would have thought I had done something really disastrous and I had just made a little error in my presentation. Not a big deal. But it felt like a big deal at the time. And I remember going all the way back to my freshman year in college. I was at the University of Alabama. I was brand new on the speech and debate team. I mean, brand new. I didn't even know my teammates. Okay. I don't know anybody. And I'm on this competition. And the context doesn't really matter, but I had to go up and give a speech, not for the competition, obviously speech and debate. I was ready for that, but I had to go and give up another speech because the person who was going to do it couldn't do it. So I had to go do it. And I was brand new and I didn't know the thing. So it was about this other guy on our team. And I had to basically pitch this other guy on our team and say he would be great for whatever this position was. I don't really remember all the details. And I had no idea who this guy was. So I start like talking about him, but I don't know who he is. And I'm trying to think of things that are good about him because that was the whole point. And I had just met him a few days ago. And I remember when I shook his hand, he gave a really strong handshake. So in the speech, I said, and so is blah, blah, blah. And, when you shake his hand, he gives a really strong handshake. And the whole crowd laughed. And they weren't laughing with me. It was a laughing at situation, And I remember being really embarrassed in that moment. And years went by where I would be about to fall asleep and that moment would come back in my head and I would be flooded with a racing heart and sweating and all the anxiousness, anxiety over this moment that had happened when I was 18 years old. And I promise you, I'm going to bring this back around. And eventually, it took years, maybe 10 years, less than 10 years, but years. Eventually, I got over that. Eventually, I could recall that embarrassing event and have no physiological reaction. No sweating, no heart racing, not even looking at it as an event that was embarrassing, looking at it as a thing that happened when I was 18 and nothing more than that. And it just was evidence to me, and I use that as evidence that even something that I'm really anxious about that has haunted me for years, I can still get over that eventually. And I can eventually get to the point where I look back at that and don't hold anxiety. So I use that as evidence that I can get over things. And so when I'm harping on something like this event 3 weeks ago that I made a flub on that I've been experiencing anxiety over, I remember other points in my life that I also was embarrassed by or had anxiety over. And then I see the evidence that I got over that. And I can tell myself logically, well, if I got over that, then I'm going to get over this. And even though right now I feel not over it, and even though right now I feel anxious and I feel frustrated, I know history tells me, my behavior tells me, my past tells me that I can get over that. And I probably will if I just give it a little bit of time. And so to reflect on all the things that I have overcome allows me to see that the challenges I face today, I can overcome. And that decreases my anxiety. I would love to hear in the comment section below if there's anything you do that you would like to share that you think could help other people manage or get in tune with themselves to better manage their anxiety, or at least be aware of those anxious thoughts and those feelings. And yeah, I get exercise, diet, breathing, sleep. All these things are great. Do it. Love it. But I would love to hear if there's anything, I don't know, outside the box, so to speak, that maybe you haven't heard. Maybe it's a little secret you have that really works. This is not a great example, but I remember someone telling me, or maybe I read it in a book, maybe because I have speeches on the mind, it's another speech example, but this person who gave public presentations would get so nervous. They were behind a podium and they would take a paper clip and put it in their pocket. And during the whole speech, they would, play with the paper clip. And by the time the speech was over, the paper clip was just destroyed because they were putting all their anxious energy into the paper clip. Now, granted, we could say, well, why are they so nervous? And they should treat the anxiety over and be able to give a presentation without having to, finagle the paper clip. But sometimes we're in a paper clip situation. Sometimes we just need the paper clip because we got to do a speech right now. We can't go back and resolve a whole bunch of decades of anxiety. So we're going to just do the paperclip and get to the speech. I like those little tips. I think they're okay to use as long as we're aware of it. Thanks for letting me come on today. It's always so fun to speak directly to the members. And if you need anything at all regarding MedCircle or MedCircle memberships, you can reach out to us directly through our website on medcircle.com. We have a lot of great videos coming out for you this week. I'm excited for you to see them. And of course, remember, whatever you're going through, you got this.